There is a man in Dayton, Ohio, a retired police officer, 30 years on dangerous streets, who protected his home for $40 and was never robbed once in 3 decades. His neighbor across the street spent $4,000 on a monitored alarm system and was broken into twice. The difference was not money, it was knowledge. Number 7 on this list is exactly what that officer knew. Here is what nobody selling you a system will say plainly. The average burglar is inside your home and gone in under 10 minutes. He is not a professional. He picks the easiest house on the street every single time. Number 14 stops him before he ever reaches your door. Number 3 costs less than a supper at a diner. Before I give you a single one of these, I want to be plain about what this list is not. It is not a list of things that require a contractor. It is not a list of things that require a permit. It is not a list of things that will harm your children, your animals, or your neighbor. Not one item on this list will send you a bill at the end of the month. Every trick here is a one-time task that works quietly, every night, long after you have gone to bed. My name is Hosteler. I am Amish, and I keep a farm here in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, where my family has worked the same ground for 3 generations. My wife Miriam and I raise 4 children, a pen of hogs, and a flock of laying hens on a place that has no alarm system, no monitoring contract, and no electricity to run either one. What it has is every principle on this list, applied to a farmhouse that sits on a road where strangers pass daily. Stay until the end, because I am going to show you the one thing the security industry works hardest to keep you from understanding. And once you hear it, you will never look at a monthly contract the same way again. Let us start from number 18, gravel under the windows. Long before any battery-powered device existed, old farmhouses had something every modern suburb has forgotten: loud ground. A wide band of crushed stone laid beneath every ground floor window and along the side of the house turns silence into a signal. You cannot walk across it quietly. You cannot creep. Every step announces itself, and at 2 in the morning that sound carries straight through a bedroom window into the ears of a sleeping family. Burglars depend on silence the way a farmer depends on rain. Take it away, and their whole plan falls apart. A bag of crushed stone costs around $6 at any hardware store, and a few bags cover every vulnerable side of a house. Landscapers charge a fortune to lay mulch that absorbs footsteps and hides movement. Gravel broadcasts them. The cheapest motion detector ever invented is a path of loose stone. Spread it under the windows a person would actually use to enter, and you have built a tripwire that will outlast every electronic device on the market. Number 17. Motion sensor floodlights. A burglar's greatest ally is darkness. The single cheapest way to take it from him screws into a fixture you already own. A motion-activated floodlight costs about $15 and mounts wherever an old porch light used to sit. When something moves in the yard, the whole area snaps from shadow to daylight. That sudden change is the problem for an intruder, not the brightness itself. He was counting on the shadow. Now he is standing fully visible to every neighbor and every passing car. Studies of convicted burglars come back to the same finding. Light is one of the primary reasons they pass a house and choose the one next door. They cannot know whether the light came on because someone inside flipped a switch or because a sensor caught them. That uncertainty is what sends them elsewhere. Place one over the barn door, one at the back, one along the darkest side. The whole setup runs under $50. A monitoring company will wire your home for thousands and still leave the back corner black on a moonless night. A $15 light solves the exact problem they charge you to worry about. Number 16. Thorny shrubs beneath the windows. My grandmother Ruth always said that a rose bush is the most honest fence there is. It does not pretend to be anything other than what it is, and it draws blood from anyone who does not respect it. She planted climbing roses under every parlor window on the south side of this house. Thick-caned, heavy-thorned roses that by July grew into a wall of bramble 3 feet deep. I asked her once, when I was young, whether she had planted them for beauty or for something else. She looked at me with the particular patience she kept for questions that already had obvious answers. "Isaac," she said, "a man who wants to open that window quiet will need to reach it first." Thorny shrubs beneath every ground floor window are one of the oldest security measures in existence, and they still work. Roses, barberry, holly, pyracantha, anything that bites back. A burglar must pass through whatever is planted beneath a window to reach the glass. He will bleed. He will make noise. He will leave evidence behind. Young shrubs cost around $10 each and grow into a barrier that strengthens every year, while looking to every passerby like nothing more than a well-kept garden. There is no monthly fee attached to a rose bush. Prevention has always been worth more than detection, and this prevention blooms in spring. Number 15. Solar lights at every dark approach. The floodlights at number 17 cover the house itself, but the far corners of a property, the back fence, the side gate, the dark end of the drive, often have no outlet nearby. That is where a solar-powered light earns its place. A solar motion light costs around $15, mounts with 2 screws anywhere, charges itself all day, and fires a burst of light the moment something moves at night. No wiring, no electrician. No cost on a power bill, ever. My neighbor to the east, an English farmer named Harlan, put 6 of these along his fence line 2 falls ago for under $90. The one gap he left, the south corner by the old equipment shed, is the corner where someone walked off with a gas-powered auger the following spring. He filled that gap the next week and has not had a problem since. A man looking to do harm wants the one dark yard on the street. Do not let it be yours. I want to stop here because everything so far has been about the yard, what a man meets before he reaches your walls. Here is the truth. The industry works hardest to keep you from confronting. The average burglar is not a professional. He is an opportunist, often young, often desperate, and lazy in the most useful way. Every study of convicted burglars says the same thing. They spend under a minute deciding whether to approach. They are inside and out in under 10 minutes. They avoid noise. They avoid light. They avoid uncertainty. Your job is not to build a fortress. It is to be more trouble than the house beside you. That is a fight you can win for $40. Number 14. Long screws in the strike plate. This costs $4 and takes 10 minutes, and it turns the weakest point on your door into one of the strongest. Look at the plate on your door frame where the deadbolt slides in. The screws holding it are almost certainly short half-inch screws biting into nothing but soft pine. One solid kick beside the handle and the whole plate tears free. The deadbolt stays locked, the door comes open. 3 seconds. Replace those screws with 3-inch screws. Now the plate is anchored to the solid wall stud behind the jamb. A door that gave it the first kick now holds against several full-body blows. Do the same to 2 screws on each hinge, and the door is bolted to the framing on both sides. Most break-ins are a boot to the door, because that is faster than picking any lock. The frame gives way, not the lock. The alarm reports the breach. The long screw prevents it. Number 13. A dowel in the sliding door track. Sliding glass doors are the softest target in most American homes, and every man who makes a living entering homes without permission knows it. The factory latch pops in seconds, and many sliders can simply be lifted from their track entirely. The fix is nearly free. Cut a wooden dowel or an old broom handle to the exact length of the track and lay it in the channel behind the closed door. Now the door cannot slide regardless of what the latch does. Drive a screw into the upper track and it cannot be lifted out either. A sensor only tells you the door has opened. A dowel means it never opens at all. The industry kept quiet about how simple real protection could be, because simple does not require a monthly payment. Number 12. A proper deadbolt, thrown every time. A shocking number of homes rely on the push-button lock in the door handle. Any person with a stiff card and 30 seconds can defeat it. A single-cylinder deadbolt costs around $20 and is the difference between a door that opens in 2 seconds and one that holds. But the trick is not simply having it. It is throwing it every time, morning and night, going to the barn and returning, leaving for an errand and coming back. A locked handle with an unthrown deadbolt is an unlocked door to anyone who knows what to look for. Number 11. Security film on the glass. A man going through a window is counting on one thing: that glass breaks fast and quiet with one sharp hit. Security film changes that completely. It is a thick, clear plastic layer that adheres to the inside of the glass. When someone strikes the window, the glass shatters, but the film holds every shard in one flexible sheet. He strikes again and again, and it will not give. Now he is making exactly the prolonged racket he came here to avoid. A roll covers several windows for around $30 and goes on with a spray bottle. It turns a 5-second silent entry into a 2-minute ordeal. No wiring, no subscription, just glass that refuses to cooperate. Number 10. The doorstop alarm. This fits in a coat pocket, costs about $8, and is the most determined little device on this entire list. It is a wedge you slide under any inward opening door. If that door is forced open even an inch, a piercing alarm fires, well over 100 decibels, loud enough to wake every soul in the house and be heard down the road. It braces the door physically and screams the instant that resistance is tested. Nothing to install, nothing to wire. Slide it under the door at night, pull it up in the morning. A family puts one under the front and one under the back and turns any nighttime entry into an immediate, deafening emergency that no man in his right mind wants to be standing inside. Here is the number nobody in the security business wants said plainly: police response time. When that expensive monitored alarm finally trips, how long until a peace officer is standing in your yard? In much of this country, somewhere between 10 minutes, and in rural counties where plain people tend to live, considerably longer. Now hold that next to the other number. The average burglar is inside and gone in under 10 minutes. Do that arithmetic once, carefully. By the time help arrives, the man is gone, and so is whatever he came for. An alarm does not stop a crime in progress. It documents one after the door is already open, and then sends you a bill every month for as long as you remain a customer. Number 9. The worn dog bowl and the sign. This costs $3 and works whether or not you own a single animal. A large, well-used dog bowl by the back door and a weathered "Beware of Dogs" sign on the gate tell a story before anyone gets close. Dogs are the one variable a man with bad intentions cannot plan around. A camera he can avoid. A lock he can work on. A dog barks, bites, wakes the household, and cannot be predicted or scheduled. Interviews with men serving time for burglary return to this again and again. A dog, even a small one, is reason enough to move on. You do not need the dog. You need the evidence of one. A chewed bowl, a length of heavy chain near the fence, a leash hung by the back door. The mind of a man casing your property does the rest, and what it imagines has teeth. Number 8. Heavy boots by the door. This costs whatever a pair of used work boots costs at a secondhand store, perhaps $5. Set a large pair of scuffed, heavy-soled boots on the porch or just inside a visible entry. A worn pair of size 13 boots tells a specific story. A big man lives here. He works with his hands. He is likely home. For anyone living alone, a widow, an older person, this quietly rewrites every assumption a stranger makes from the road. Add a heavy coat on the hook by the entry, and the impression is complete. No wire, no battery, no fee. A pair of boots standing quiet watch every night. Number 7. Making the house look lived in. The greatest deterrent is the belief that someone is awake inside. You can create that belief for the cost of a timer. A plug-in timer costs around $10 and turns a lamp on and off on a schedule, so the house lights from within at dusk, whether you are home or 50 miles away. Add a second timer to a radio set to a talk station, and anyone listening at the door hears voices inside. Rotate which lights come on so the pattern changes night to night. Nobody breaks into a house they believe is occupied by a watchful person. This is not a theory. It is what the men themselves say. Number 6. Real cameras and decoys working together. This was the $40 method that kept that Dayton officer's home untouched for 30 years. He mounted one obvious camera at the front where anyone could see it, added 2 convincing decoy housings at the corners, and placed one real camera at the back door, watching the approach no one could see from the road. Modern cameras that send word to your telephone cost around $30 with no subscription if you store the footage locally. But the deterrent is not the recording. It is the sight of the lens. A man scanning your house sees lenses covering every approach and cannot know which ones record and which are hollow plastic. He assumes all are real because guessing wrong could cost him years, so he leaves. Place the working camera where any person must pass to reach a door. Place the decoys where they are most visible from the road. Number 5. The wireless driveway alarm. A wireless driveway alarm is a small motion sensor at the end of the drive or by the side gate, paired with a chime inside the house. When anyone crosses that line, a soft sound tells you someone is approaching before they reach the door. The whole kit runs around $25, no wiring, no monthly fee. For a person home alone, particularly an older person or a woman keeping the house while the men are in the fields, those extra 15 seconds are everything. Time to look out a window. Time to light a lamp. Time to make plain that the house is awake and watching. Number 4. The motion-activated sprinkler. This one began as a way to keep deer from the kitchen garden, and homeowners discovered quickly that it did something else entirely. It ambushes people. A motion-activated sprinkler sits in the yard connected to a garden hose. When it senses movement, it fires a sharp burst of cold water out of the darkness without warning. For a person creeping through a side yard at night expecting silence, it shatters nerve, makes noise, and leaves them soaked. The last condition a man trying to move unseen wants to be in. Around $40, connected to a hose, running on a battery for months. No man planning a quiet entry plans for being blasted with water in the dark. Number 3. The neighbors who know you. This is the oldest protection a home has ever had, and it costs nothing but a few conversations. A street where people know each other, where they notice a strange vehicle, an unfamiliar face near a door, is a street men with bad intentions avoid. They want anonymous places where no one knows who belongs. On a road where everyone knows everyone, a stranger stands out from the first moment. Trade numbers with the families on either side of you and across the way. Tell them when you will be away. Offer to do the same. A camera records a stranger. A neighbor calls out to him, calls for help, and frightens him away in real time. The most powerful protection your home has ever had is the people who live around it. Number 2. Layering the defenses in rings. The idea the security industry wants you to believe is that protection is a single thing, one system, one device, one monthly plan. That the quality of your safety is determined by how much you pay. This is wrong. Real protection is not a wall. It is a set of rings, each one a chance to discourage a man before he reaches the next. The outer ring is your yard, gravel, motion lights, thorns beneath the windows, solar lights at every dark corner. The middle ring is the shell of the house, film on the glass, the evidence of a dog, boots by the door, the lamps that come on at dusk. The inner ring is every entry point, long screws in the strike plate, a dowel in the slider, a deadbolt thrown home, a wedge alarm under the door. A man who crosses the gravel, gets lit by a floodlight, finds the window will not break, finds the door will not kick in, then hears a 100-decibel alarm at his feet. At each point he had reason to quit. Most quit early. No single item here is a fortress. 5 stacked together are a wall of small difficulties that sends a man looking for an easier house. Number 1. Not being the easiest house on the street. At the top of this list is not a device. It is the understanding that makes every other item work. A man who breaks into homes is not hunting a particular house. He is hunting an opportunity, moving down a street the way water moves downhill, always toward the lowest point, always toward the easiest passage. He does not need a house that is impossible to enter. He only needs one that is easier than the ones beside it. Your job, the whole of your job, is to not be that house. The gravel, the lights, the deadbolts, the boots by the door, the neighbors who watch, the lamp that comes on at dusk. None of it has to be perfect. It only has to be more effort than the house next door. Because he only needs one easy house, and he will always take the easiest one he finds. My grandfather Eli used to say that a safe home is not built in a day and not bought in an afternoon. It is assembled piece by piece the way a good fence is built, one post driven solid before the next one starts. He said this to my father in the winter of 1958, standing outside this same farmhouse, looking at a place down the road that had been turned over while the family was away at a funeral. Nothing valuable was taken because there was nothing valuable to take. But the family came home to their drawers pulled out and their pantry searched, and that kind of violation sits in a person long after the last drawer is put back. Grandfather Eli spent the following Saturday putting gravel under the north windows, driving long screws into every strike plate, and cutting back the bushes that had grown thick against the foundation. He spent less than $2 in one morning of work. He told my father, "A man who means to enter will find a way eventually, but he will not find a way here, because here is too much trouble, and there is always another house that is not." That farmhouse has stood on this road for 80 years. In all of that time, no one has entered it without being invited. Grandmother Ruth kept a different kind of watch. She knew the way women who run a household learn to know, exactly which sounds belonged to the night and which ones did not. The hogs settling, the hens shifting on the roost, the particular quiet that comes after the wind dies. She told me once, when I was perhaps 9 years old, and had asked her whether she was ever frightened at night, that she was not frightened because she had made the house into a place that did the watching for her. "Isaac," she said, pressing her hands flat on the kitchen table the way she did when she wanted you to remember what came next, "a man who works in darkness cannot stand noise or light or uncertainty. Give him all three before he reaches the door, and you will never have to give him anything else." She meant the gravel. She meant the rose bushes. She meant the lamp on the timer and the worn bowl by the gate. She assembled every one of those things without knowing they had names, or that someone would one day sell electronic versions of them for thousands of dollars a year. She assembled them because she understood how a cautious mind works and how a careless one fails. I think of her every time someone asks me whether a monitoring contract is worth the cost. Now I want to be honest with you, because I will not pretend these 18 things are more than they are. Everything on this list works against the opportunist, the man looking for the easiest house on the block, the one who gives up when the first or second thing does not go his way. That is the vast majority of people who break into homes. But there is a kind of man they will not stop. A man who has chosen your home specifically, who has studied it, who is patient and determined. No gravel, no film, no deadbolt will hold him indefinitely. I will not tell you otherwise. What these tricks do is make your house a poor choice for the kind of man who makes most of the choices. That is not a guarantee. It is a substantial improvement made for less than the cost of a single month's monitoring contract. Know what you are building. Build it anyway. Now I want to tell you the thing that companies selling monitoring contracts have the greatest reason to hope you never think about clearly. A monitored alarm system is not sold to you for the equipment. It is sold to you for the contract, $30, $40, $50 a month, locked in for 2 or 3 years, whether anything ever happens to your home or not. $50 a month is $600 a year. Over 5 years, $3,000, on top of the thousands paid up front for installation. And when the alarm trips, what happens? A person in another state calls to ask if you are all right, then dispatches police who are at least 10 minutes away. The system does not stop the break-in. It documents one, after the door is already open, and bills you every month regardless. I am not saying the men who run those companies sat in a room and planned this. I do not believe that happened. It is worse than that and simpler. Nobody had to coordinate. They just let you sign the contract without thinking carefully about the arithmetic and stayed quiet about what the arithmetic revealed. Your grandparents were not paying anyone a monthly fee, and their homes were harder to enter than yours. Here is what I want you to do before this week is finished. Pick 3 things from this list. Only 3 to start. Drive long screws into the strike plate on your front door. $4.10, the single highest value improvement on this entire list. Lay a dowel in the track of your sliding door. The price of a piece of wood in 5 minutes. Put gravel under the window on the dark side of your house, the one a person would choose if they did not want to be seen from the road. If you do only those 3 things, you have addressed the 3 most common entry points men who break into homes rely upon. You have not built a fortress. You have moved yourself off the easiest house list. That is the whole game. Add the lights, the thorns, the timers, the boots, the driveway alarm as you are able. Each one adds another ring. Each ring gives another reason to choose a different house. Which of these 18 tricks do you already have in place? And which one are you going to do this weekend? Tell me in the comments. I read every one, and I am curious whether the gravel gets more people moving than the long screws, or whether it is the door wedge that surprises folks the most. If you have stayed through to this point, I am grateful for your time. I mentioned at the beginning that there is one thing Miriam and I did to this farmhouse that made every other measure work better. It has nothing to do with locks or lights or anything you can purchase. It is something built over years with the families on this road, and it costs nothing except the willingness to pay attention to your neighbors and let them pay attention to you. I will give you the full account of how that works, and what a plain community has always understood about mutual protection that the modern world is only beginning to remember, in the next video. Do not miss it.